Welcome back to Driven Daily. It's time for another event recap from the 2018 hill climb season. But before we get to that, I want to answer one of the questions that I've had about the shop. There have been a lot of questions, surprisingly, and I guess the one that's most interesting to me is what tools do you have, or what tools do you use? And I'm gonna kind of dance around that by saying what tools do I want and what tools am I going to use. So this right here is called a bead roller. It's a pretty straightforward, simple device that takes a piece of sheet metal like this that's only strong in one direction, that's this direction, and gives it a little deformation so that it's strong in two directions. So it's strong this way and this way. Every OEM panel that you're going to see on a car that's made of metal is going to have some kind of deformation like this. And normally they do that with huge hydraulic dies, and they just stamp out an entire panel at once, move it over, and spot weld it into the car. For things like a race car, I need to be able to make 30 or 40 different types of parts, not 300 or 400 of one type of part. So having a bead roller is really pretty useful. The main uses that I'm going to use this for are door cards to keep stuff from intruding into the car if I ever have an off-road excursion, and some way to separate myself from the fuel cell. If the fuel cell ever gets punctured, I want to make sure that I don't get covered in flaming fuel. I want to get as much safety as I can. So the only real complaint that I have with this tool is that it really only works with 18 gauge or 20 gauge. It's moderately capable with 16 gauge, but that really is pushing the limits of what it's capable of. So I want to use 16 gauge because it's so much more rigid and so much more strong than 18 or 20 gauge right out of the box. But that's also what makes it so difficult to bend, because the two arms of this kind of deform around the material, kind of like if you're using scissors on something that's too strong for the scissors. They'll want to just turn over and roll. So what I've done is taken it all apart, taken all the paint off, and tack welded 1 inch by 2 inch rectangular tube to the back to give it a little more rigidity and keep it from flapping around like that. I don't know how well it works yet. We'll have to see. I'll test that out, and I will follow up in the next episode. But at the end of the day, for a $125 tool shipped, I really don't have any complaints with it. The only real downside that I've found is that it doesn't do the thicker material, and I need to make a stand for it of some sort. So I'll put this back together, I'll test it, and I'll update you in the next episode, I suppose, if you're interested. If you want to see that, leave a comment below. How's that? Now for the event recap. So far in the 2018 season, we've gone over Mt Burke 1, which we missed, and that has to be our only event drop of the season if we're going to win the class championship, and Mt Burke, where we took second out of third and finally scored some points toward that class championship.
Is practice day at Burke, and this is not the forest of Vermont, this is my backyard. We were supposed to leave on Friday, that didn't happen. There were still things to button up on the car, and it was pouring rain, and we ended up not wanting to weld at 9 p.m. with the neighbors around, so yeah, we're leaving on the Saturday morning. I'm waiting for Jesse to show up in a minute, and we'll just drive there, convoy there, and be, passing tech at lunchtime, I guess, and hopefully we get some practice this afternoon. The thing is, it's supposed to be thunderstorm, so there may not be that much of a practice.
Made it to Vermont. I just went through tech. We had a little bit of lunch. We're all registered. We've got our wristbands. Cars are running. We made it here just in time for lunch, and I've done my familiarization run, so now I can do a proper run. But my steering wheel isn't straight, so I'm gonna sort that out and then try to get in with this next run group and get my first timed run, practice run of the event.
Well, it's 4 o'clock. All the runs have been rained on, and now it stops pouring rain. This is Burke, this is the Sunday. This is race. Yep, this is race day. So, a few of the changes we've made to the Miata to be able to run here in better conditions than usually is to have a dashboard. The other thing we changed is the exhaust. I don't know if you remember, but at Okemo we melted the bumper, and I had to put a little bit of a heat shield around it so that we wouldn't melt it more. It worked. Yeah, it did work. Wow, I need a haircut. Hi, Mom. Yeah, that was my mom's happy birthday 2 days ago.
Alright, so Burke is a fantastic hill, and it's always a lot of fun to drive it in the Miata, but it's almost a 25% grade, so you really need more power than the Miata puts out. And most of the time I just end up competing with myself. This time though, I had one other car that wasn't a Miata and wasn't a CRX show up to race with me.
I'm Eric Motto. I'm out of Western Massachusetts. I'm here for my first ever hill climb. This is a 2007 custom-built dune buggy. It was built out in California, really made for the desert. I've had it out in the desert a few times. Mainly, I race it off-road now in Pennsylvania, but I decided I'd lower it down a couple inches, slap some street tires on it, and come give it a try. We got up here, did some practice runs on Saturday, worked my way down from a 3 minutes and 18 seconds down to about a 2:43. Getting at least 15 to 20 seconds each run. Today we've been out for 4 runs and I just got my best time at a 2:32, so I'm very happy with the fastest time in the class so far. This thing is obviously, it's a long travel suspension. Limited the rear, put some bigger tires in the back, re-geared it a little bit, and it has been surprisingly stable for tarmac racing. I wasn't really sure what to expect coming out here, but it's been a lot of fun this weekend. Definitely looking forward to a couple more hill climbs this season.
Alright, see you guys there, and as usual, what do we do usually? I don't know.